All right, today I'll be covering a handgun that most people aren't really talking about, and I'm not too sure why, because the Jericho 941 ORP is a great gun. I'd like to talk about how I got it. So first of all, these aren't very common. I can't seem to find them in many local gun stores, and I got this one through the PSP program with IWI for first responders and military and police. So I got it from them. It seems to be probably the best way to get it right now until these become a little more popular. Initially, when I got it, I was pretty excited, and I love the way it feels in the hand. The finish is decent, with a slightly different finish on the slide and the actual frame, but I don't have a huge problem with it. They're both pretty well maintaining, and you know, they don't seem to show very excessive signs of wear thus far. Just in and out of holsters that I've been trying to figure out, and just generally manipulating it, dry firing it, sliding magazines into it. Around the funneling area, there are some scratches because you have steel on steel, and the finish is being punished there, but nothing too crazy for the amount of rounds that I have on it thus far, which has just now today broke 1,000. I'll talk about the trigger, which has been pretty good thus far. I'm a huge fan of the double action, single action guns. I had a Jericho, the original one, back in the day, and this is living up to the original, in my opinion. The double action pull is long, a bit heavy, a little stagey, but it's not a problem. It's very predictable. There's a nice break at the end in double action, and I think that this will be a good competitor in carry optics. Being carried also in your half notch with safety on makes it pretty good for that option as well, for those that like to carry double action guns. It is a bit heavy for that, and it is going to be a bit long for most carry purposes. I'm imagining IWI will most likely release a smaller barreled version of this gun, possibly in even a smaller grip so at some point, depending on how well these perform, which hopefully they do well, because I think this does compete with the CZ75 and Tank Folios adequately. Ergonomically speaking, it is going to be stealing a lot of those things from those CZ75s. We are taking the grips from the CZ75 Shadow 2. Specifically, the front and rear texturing is very nice, not too abrasive, not too aggressive. Combine those into one. But huge fan of that there. The palm swell area is definitely a little lacking, though. I'm going to need some grip from Lock, probably. Should be on the way. What else? Ergonomically, the magazine release has been improved and extended. It is pretty far off the side of the gun, and it has lots of real estate for you to put your finger on, though it does not get in the way of my grip as I'm holding it. It's a little bit recessed underneath there, and I can kind of get a nice high thumbstack grip. The other side of the gun, you have the ambidextrous safety, able to be manipulated. It is not a decocker, though, and it will never be a decocker, most likely. The only decocker Jerichos I've seen have been the slide-mounted option, which is no longer possible because the ORP is the optic-ready pistol. We are able to use RMRs and delta point plates, which are well cemented into there with two large towers, as well as the screw points for 632s and 640s, depending on which you choose for that optic system. And the Jericho comes with all of the necessary hardware. Next change for the ORP is going to be the forward slide serrations, which are very similar in depth and in texture to some from Patriot Defense, which I'm a huge fan of. They are angled slightly to the rear, which allows for a good parallel hold against the sort of front of the slide. And yeah, I think the changes are positive. The changes about the optic slide are a little bit kind of difficult for me to judge at this point. I don't know if it's my copy. I have another copy on the way to compare it to, but I have had some issues with the optic plate system. I think it's just probably HoloSun or the specific gun, or could be a number of things. It could be me, but I don't really think it is. Every HoloSun that I've put on this thus far for the 507 comp as well as the 509 ACSS, have required significant adjustment in the up and down to make 0. This optic actually currently is topped out again. This is the second one I've topped out to get it to 0 at 10 meters. I like the optic. I don't think there's anything wrong with it in terms of production. I just don't understand how these two things are really working together, or maybe working against each other in that way, because there are other people that are running this setup and they're having great times with it. And I think that's awesome, because I think this optic looks great on here. I think it fits the gun, especially for competition style shooting, and it'll probably stay on there for me, and I'll just get better with it. And it's zeroed now for what I needed to do, so there's no going back, because I'm not spending the money on an SRO. And I think the whole ethos of this gun is for me at least, affordability, and not buying a Shadow 2, which I think is a good gun to compare this to, as I think it'll be kind of pushed into a competitive or duty role, but depending on what owner gets it. For me, it's competition, so that's what I'm comparing it to. The other issue I've had is with the magazines. They have been breaking in. The polymer on the bottom here, or that plastic on the bottom, has been slowly breaking in. But there's an issue where I can have the magazine fully seated, and it will not retain. Now, this isn't a common problem. It's getting less and less as I break the gun in. But even still, after dozens and dozens of mag changes, these really struggle with the action closed to make full seat without some authority behind it. And this magazine is a little better than this one right here, which it does ship with 2 magazines. Really would like 3, just because that kind of gets everything done. I don't know why we aren't having 3 guns or 3 magazines in with a new gun, and I want to get more. So hopefully the store will be back up for IWI for me to purchase some OEMs in the near future, but that remains to be seen. The kind of draw of this gun for me is that not a lot of people have these, and I don't think you're going to see them too frequently, and that's a shame, because it's a good gun and it's probably more affordable than what people are going to be putting into a gun of lesser quality and lesser accuracy. I think though that the Jericho, especially this one, is in need of some improvements for competition shooting. I think the trigger, the take up, I would like to be able to adjust out of it, just because I don't like that. And I think reducing the creep kind of in the single action pull would be good. The trigger is pulling at about 4.5 pounds on single action, and then on double action we're looking at probably closer to 10, which it doesn't feel like 10. It actually feels smooth and light, and it's very responsive and somewhat agile. But this gun does also dive on me pretty hard. I don't know if it's because I'm coming off of a compensated firearm in open division, but for some reason my first shot I will hit pretty well, and then my second shot I will cause to overcompensate for recoil. And I think that's also due to the gun being somewhat oversprung. The recoil system is quite stiff, and it does not have any issues cycling anything at all. But I think reducing the charge on the spring, reducing the charge on the hammer spring, and just tuning this gun is gonna help it out a lot, especially with what I want to do with it. The overall recommendation: it's a good gun. Put 1,000 rounds through it thus far, and I intend to put thousands more. I am a nobody on the internet, and I mean, my opinion means nothing, and you'll buy what you want to buy. But if this is the only review of the Jericho 941 ORP, because I've been looking for them, then I say yes, go get it. Go buy yourself one, shoot it, break it, fix it, love it. We need more magazines though, more magazines, and we need more holsters, because there are not a lot of holsters for this guy. So, good shooting.